Welcome to Zoe Stories. My wife turned me into her sissy mate. Come on, GN, give it a go. It'll be hilarious, I encouraged, holding up a blonde wig with bouncy curls. John stood in the doorway of our bedroom, his brows knit together in doubt. He had just wrapped up a long day at the office, and entertaining one of my whimsical ideas was likely the last thing he wanted to do. But I knew how to charm him. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, uncertainty coloring his voice. I smiled. With unwavering confidence, I replied, "Absolutely. It's a fun way to spice things up." I patted the spot next to me on the bed, beckoning him closer. With a reluctant sigh, John stepped forward. He trusted me, even if he didn't fully grasp my intentions. He was willing to humor me, and that's one of the many reasons I loved him. I carefully placed the wig on his head, adjusting it until the curls framed his face perfectly. He glanced at himself in the mirror, a blend of amusement and embarrassment flickering in his eyes. "I look ridiculous," he muttered. "Nonsense," I teased, running my fingers through the synthetic hair. "You look adorable. Let's take it a step further." I pulled out a lacy pink bra and matching panties from the dresser. John's eyes widened, and he shook his head. "Alice, I'm not sure about this." "Come on, it'll be sexy," I urged. I coaxed him with my most persuasive smile. "Think of it as an adventure, something new for both of us." He hesitated, but the playful glint in my eyes seemed to dissolve his doubts. With a resigned nod, he started to undress. I assisted him in fastening the bra around his chest, the delicate lace brushing gently against his skin. Next, I handed him the panties, and he slid them on with a nervous laugh. "Just don't get any stains on them," I teased, winking at him. Jen chuckled, finally easing up. "You really are a wild one, Alice. And you love me for it," I retorted, stepping back to admire my handiwork. He did look utterly ridiculous, but in the most charming way imaginable. The absurdity of the situation had softened his usually stoic demeanor, and I could see the stress from his day fading away. I moved to the dresser and picked up a tube of lipstick. "Let's complete the look," I said with a grin. I uncapped the lipstick and leaned in to apply it to his lips. He closed his eyes, surrendering to the sensation. The bright red hue stood out starkly against his natural features, enhancing the overall effect. "Now for the finishing touches," I said with a playful grin. I pulled a sleek black dress from the closet, its fabric catching the soft light of our bedroom with a subtle shimmer. John's eyes widened as he took in the sight. "Are you serious?" he asked, his voice a blend of apprehension and curiosity. "Absolutely," I replied, holding the dress out to him with a confident smile. It wouldn't be complete without it. With a resigned yet amused sigh, John slid the dress over his head. I helped him zip it up, the fabric hugging his body in all the right places. He turned to the mirror, astonished by his reflection. "Wow, these are sexy," he remarked, smoothing the dress over his hips. "Hold on, we're not finished yet," I said, reaching under the bed to pull out a pair of black heels. John's eyes twinkled with a touch of mischief as he carefully stepped into the heels, adjusting his balance. "What about pantyhose?" he teased, raising an eyebrow. I laughed, shaking my head in mock dismay. "Oh, you're right. How could I forget?" I rummaged through the dresser and retrieved a pair of sheer black pantyhose. "Sit down," I instructed, and he complied, sitting on the edge of the bed. I rolled the pantyhose up his legs, feeling his muscles tense slightly beneath my touch as I smoothed them into place. I noticed his excitement building, a subtle but clear sign that he was enjoying this more than he'd admitted. "I knew you were enjoying this," I teased, giving his leg a playful squeeze. He twirled a lock of the blonde wig around his finger, a devilish grin spreading across his lips. "No promises," he said with a wink, the lipstick accentuating his dazzling smile. I couldn't help but laugh, a light and joyful sound escaping me. "Just remember what I said about the panties," I reminded him, giving him a quick peck on the cheek. He stood up, testing his balance in the heels. "How do I look?" he asked, striking a pose. "Absolutely stunning," I replied. My heart swelled with affection. This playful, adventurous side of John was something I cherished deeply. John opened his eyes and looked at himself in the mirror again, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "I can't believe I'm doing this," he said, shaking his head. "Believe it," I said, wrapping my arms around his waist from behind, "and enjoy it. You're doing this for me, and I appreciate it more than you know," I said. He turned in my arms, pulling me close. "You better appreciate it," he murmured with a teasing tone, "because I don't do this for just anyone." I laughed and stood on my tiptoes to kiss him. "I know, and that's why I love you," I said, pulling back. A thought struck me, and my eyes sparkled with mischief. "You know, you need a name to go with this look. How about Joanna?" John blinked, then a slow smile spread across his face. "Ooh, sexy. I like it," he replied, his voice playful. "All right, Joanna, let's get you all dolled up," I said, guiding him to the vanity and sitting him down. I laid out my makeup supplies in front of us, spreading them out carefully. He watched with a mix of curiosity and amusement as I chose a foundation that matched his skin tone. "You know," he teased, twirling a lock of his wig, "when you said you had a fun anniversary gift, I never expected this. But I have to admit, I kind of enjoy it." I chuckled, leaning in to apply the foundation to his face. "Who knows? If you're lucky, maybe one day I'll invite my friends over and we can have a girls' night." I winked at him. He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "All right, Joanna," I said, concentrating on the task. "Let's start with a nice base." I smoothed the foundation across his skin, blending it carefully. "This will even out your complexion and give us a blank canvas to work with," I said. He nodded, his eyes following my movements in the mirror. "What's next?" he asked. "Next, we'll do some contouring," I explained, picking up a contour stick. "This will define your cheekbones and add dimension to your face." I carefully applied the product and blended it out with a brush. "See? Instant cheekbones," I said. "Wow," he murmured, turning his head from side to side to admire the effect. "That's impressive." I smiled, pleased with his reaction. "Now, let's move on to the eyes. Close your eyes for me." He did as I asked, and I began applying eyeshadow, selecting shades that would complement his features. A little bit of this darker shade in the crease to add depth, and a lighter one on the lid to make your eyes pop. He peeked one eye open. "And this is what you do every day?" "Pretty much," I replied with a laugh. "Now, keep them closed." "I'm going to add some eyeliner," I said, drawing a thin line along his lash line and adding a flick at the end for a subtle cat eye. "There, now for some mascara." As I applied the mascara, I continued explaining each step. "Mascara will lengthen and thicken your lashes, making your eyes look even more dramatic." I finished with a final swipe and stepped back to admire my work. "What do you think?" He opened his eyes, blinking a few times. "Wow, Joanna looks amazing," he said, a hint of awe in his voice. "We're not done yet," I replied with a smile. I picked up a blush and said, "Let's add a bit of color to your cheeks." I gently dusted the blush onto his cheekbones, then reached for a highlighter. "And now, a touch of highlighter for some extra glow." He smiled, clearly enjoying the transformation. "I never realized how much went into this," he said. "It's an art," I replied, grabbing a lip liner and lipstick. "Now, let's finish with the lips. I'll outline them first to give them shape." I then filled them in with a gorgeous shade, carefully applying the products. Stepping back to admire the final result, I grinned at him. "Well, Joanna," I said, "you look absolutely stunning." He gazed at his reflection, turning his head from side to side. "I do, don't I?" he said, his voice filled with wonder. "Thank you, Alice. This has been unexpected but fun." You're welcome, I replied, feeling a swell of affection for him. And who knows, maybe we'll make this a regular thing. He laughed, stood up, and gave me a playful twirl. I wouldn't mind that, he said, his voice light and joyful. All this makeup has got me hungry, I admitted, my stomach rumbling in agreement. How about we go out for some food? Joanna's eyes widened in surprise. Go out like this? Come on, I teased, giving him a playful nudge. No one will notice. Besides, someone might even ask for your number. I winked, watching as his hesitation gave way to reluctant excitement. With a gentle push, he finally agreed. All right, let's do it. We grabbed our things and headed out the door, walking hand in hand to our favorite pasta restaurant just a few blocks away. The evening air was cool and refreshing, and I could see Joanna's nerves beginning to settle as we chatted and laughed. As we made our way to the restaurant, the warm, inviting aroma of garlic and herbs welcomed us. We were swiftly seated at a cozy table by the window, where the soft glow of candlelight enhanced the ambience. Almost immediately, our waiter appeared, his eyes widening slightly at Joanna's appearance. Good evening, ladies, he said with a charming smile. What can I get for you tonight? The waiter asked. I glanced at Joanna, who looked both flattered and a bit flustered by the attention. We'll start with some garlic bread, and I'll have the fettuccine Alfredo, I said, handing him my menu. The waiter turned his full attention to Joanna. And for you? He asked. I'll have the spaghetti carbonara, Joanna replied, her voice steady but with a touch of nervousness. Excellent choice, the waiter said, his smile widening. Can I get you ladies anything to drink? A glass of red wine for me, I answered. I'll have the same, Joanna added, her confidence growing with each passing moment. As the waiter left to place our order, I leaned in and whispered, See, no one suspects a thing. Joanna laughed softly, twirling a lock of her wig. You might be right. I have to admit, this is kind of fun. I grinned, feeling a rush of satisfaction. I must say, you look quite sexy. Before Joanna could respond, the waiter returned with our drinks, placing them in front of us with a flourish. Here you go, ladies. Your food will be out shortly, the waiter said, lingering for a moment with his gaze fixed on Joanna. If you don't mind me saying, you have the most beautiful eyes, he added, his voice dripping with charm. Joanna blushed, clearly surprised by the compliment. Thank you, she murmured, casting a glance at me filled with both surprise and amusement. I guess I was right, I said with a playful grin. You do look quite sexy. The waiter eventually left us to enjoy our drinks, and Joanna let out a relieved sigh. I can't believe this is happening. She shook her head in disbelief. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it, I replied, taking a sip of my wine. And enjoy it. This is a night to remember. Our food arrived shortly after, and we dove into our meals with enthusiasm. The pasta was divine, a perfect blend of flavors and textures. As we ate, we talked and laughed, the earlier tension dissolving completely by the time we finished. By the time we finished our meal, it felt like we had been on a grand adventure. Joanna was relaxed and confident, her earlier apprehensions completely forgotten. As we settled the bill and prepared to leave, I couldn't help but feel a swell of pride and affection for her. Ready to head home? I asked, standing up and extending my hand. Ready, she replied, taking my hand with a smile. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.